So during the westward expansion of the United States, Native Americans already lived in the area. There are many different tribes of Native Americans, and in the 1800s, each tribe had its own way of eating, dressing, and living, depending upon where they were located. Different geographical regions influence different lifestyles, so even today, each Native American group has its own distinctive culture. In today's Read Aloud, you're going to hear about a very important man from a Cherokee tribe. His name was Sequoyah. So say that with me, Sequoyah. The Cherokee are presently the largest Native American group in the United States and live mostly in Oklahoma. So Sequoyah cared very much for his people and his Cherokee culture. European settlers were trying to replace Native American customs with their customs. Sequoyah wanted the Cherokee people to stand tall or be proud of their culture. How do you think he made sure his people's voices didn't fade away or disappear completely as more and more white men or Europeans moved westward onto Native American lands? Keep listening carefully to find out. So today I want you to listen carefully to determine the main topic of the Read Aloud, and I want you to listen more and learn more about Sequoyah and the Cherokee. People are not born knowing how to read and write. They have to learn these skills just as they have to learn to talk. This is true for individuals like you and me, and it's also true for groups of people. In the early 1800s, the Cherokee people had a spoken language they used to communicate, but they did not have a written language for reading and writing. The Cherokee were Native Americans who lived in what is now the southeastern United States. There were Cherokee settlements in Georgia, Tennessee, and the Carolinas. The Cherokee people had many folk tales that have been told and retold for many generations. So generations are groups of people who were born and lived during the same time. But none of these tales had ever been written down because the Cherokee kept and passed down meaningful information orally or by talking. So up until this time, the Cherokee had communicated by speaking, but not reading or writing. That changed because of the hard work and dedication of a Cherokee man named Sequoyah. Sequoyah was born in Tennessee. He grew up with this Cherokee family speaking the Cherokee language. But Sequoyah, who was a farmer and a silversmith, also spent a lot of time interacting with the white settlers who were living near the Cherokee lands. So interacting means talking or doing things with other people. So Sequoyah spent time talking and doing things with the settlers. Sequoyah believed that having a written language could make the Cherokee people even stronger. In what ways do you think writing is useful? In 1809, he began to think about creating a writing system for his native language. 3 years later, during the War of 1812, Sequoyah and the other Cherokee joined the United States under General Andrew Jackson to fight the British troops. There, Sequoyah observed how the U.S. Army officers sent and received messages. The idea of creating a written language was not new to him, but Sequoyah saw how useful reading and writing was when the officers needed to communicate. The Cherokee called the letters that the officers sent each other talking leaves. Sequoyah had seen how helpful they were for the soldiers. He was convinced it would be good if the Cherokee people could use talking leaves too. When the war ended, Sequoyah kept working to develop a writing system for the Cherokee language. At first, he tried to come up with a symbol for each word in the language. In English, do we have individual symbols that stand for each of our words? Or do we have symbols or letters that you can put together to make words? He spent a year trying to create or make symbols for all the words in the Cherokee language. Even after a year, he was still not done. So Sequoyah carved the symbols on slats or shingles of wood. Sequoyah was so busy with his project developing the symbols for the Cherokee written language that he didn't plant any crops that year. All he did was work on creating symbols. His wife was worried. She thought Sequoyah didn't know what he was doing. Why did his wife think he didn't know what he was doing? She thought he was just wasting his time. She did not understand what Sequoyah was trying to do. How would she and her children survive without crops? What were they supposed to eat? Some historians have recorded that after a while, Sequoyah's wife was so upset that she gathered up all of Sequoyah's work and burned it. Others have said that his fellow Cherokee destroyed the symbols because they thought they would bring their people bad luck. So why do you think the Cherokee thought his writing would bring them bad luck? Either way, Sequoyah's work went up in smoke. Since his wife and his people didn't believe in him, do you think Sequoyah will give up trying to create a Cherokee writing system now that all his work is gone? This was a heavy blow for Sequoyah. But in a way, it was a good thing. It was good because Sequoyah realized the approach, or the way he had chosen to create the symbols, was not the best one. It is possible to make a writing system in which there is a different symbol for each word in the language. Writing systems of this sort do exist, but they took a long time to create and are very difficult to learn. So just remember here at this point what we've studied on the Chinese writing system. Remember that uses 8,000 symbols. Think what it would be like if we had to learn a different symbol for all of the tens of thousands of words in the English language. How would we ever remember all those symbols? How many letters does the English language have that we use to make all the words we speak? Sequoyah knew there had to be a better way. There was a better way, and eventually he found it. Sequoyah realized that all Cherokee words were made up of syllables, so he created 84 symbols to represent all of the syllables in the Cherokee language. This was extraordinarily clever. Sequoyah had never learned to read and write, but he figured out a writing system for his native language. Do you think it would be difficult for someone who didn't know how to read or write to create an entire written language? Once Sequoyah had come up with the symbols for the 84 syllables in the Cherokee language, he was confident that he could teach other people to use them. He started by teaching his own daughter, Ayoka. Ayoka easily learned to read and write with the symbols Sequoyah created. Then Sequoyah went to show his writing system to the chiefs of the Cherokee Nation. At first, the chiefs were skeptical. Some of them did not understand what Sequoyah was trying to do. Others thought his system might not really work. A few thought Sequoyah might be trying to trick them. Why do you think the chiefs thought he was trying to trick them? Sequoyah had expected this. He told the chiefs he could prove that his system really worked. He would send Ayoka away. Then he would write down any words the chiefs wanted him to write. When he had done this, he would call Ayoka back and she would read the words. That way the chiefs could be sure Sequoyah was not tricking them. The chiefs agreed. Ayoka went away. One of the chiefs spoke some words in the Cherokee language. Sequoyah wrote down what he said using his syllable sounds. Then they sent for Ayoka. Do you think she'll be able to read it? When she returned, she read the words Sequoyah had written. The chiefs were impressed, but they were not convinced. The chiefs admired Sequoyah's hard work and were interested in what he had done, but they still didn't believe it was true. They tried the same test a few more times, using different words each time. The chiefs had Sequoyah write the symbols and then called Ayoka in to read them. Then the chiefs had Ayoka write the symbols and called Sequoyah in to read them. Finally, the chiefs concluded that Sequoyah's writing system really did work. Concluded means that they decided after a period of thought and observation. After all of his hard work, Sequoyah's writing system was accepted. He and Ayoka taught other Cherokee people to use the symbols, and that is how the Cherokee people learned to read and write. Was Sequoyah successful at making sure that the Cherokee language would never fade away? Later, many sad things happened to the Cherokee people. In the 1830s, they were forced to leave their lands. Later, they were forced onto reservations and into English-speaking classrooms. Thanks to Sequoyah's hard work, the Cherokee were able to keep their language alive. Even today, almost 200 years later, the Cherokee language is written with symbols developed by Sequoyah. Sequoyah is remembered and honored as the man who taught his people to read and write. However, he is not only honored by the Cherokee people, he is considered to be a national hero, too. This is a statue of Sequoyah in the U.S. Capitol building, and it is believed that the tall, strong sequoia trees that grow in California may have been named to honor the man who allowed his people to stand a little taller, too. What was the main topic of this read aloud? Was Sequoyah always famous? What made him famous? Why did Sequoyah feel that writing down the Cherokee language was important? Did people like what Sequoyah was doing at first? How do you know? What changed their minds? After Sequoyah's work was burned, he had to start over again. Describe the kind of writing he invented that the Cherokee still use today. Does the English language have more symbols or fewer symbols than the Cherokee language? Why was Sequoyah's invention important? In the read aloud today, you heard Sequoyah spent a year trying to create symbols for all the words in the Cherokee language. Say the word create with me. Create. The word create means to make or produce something that did not exist. In art class, the students will create their own paintings. What is the word we've been talking about? Create. What part of speech is the word create?